The story begins with Emile and his son Francis stuck in a traffic jam. At that time, they were arguing with each other, and Emile got out of the car in anger. After that, Francis also followed him. Then he saw a moving ambulance, from which someone was screaming. Francis immediately took Emile and hid behind a car, and then a man came out breaking the door of the ambulance, who was half human and half bird. The security officers immediately tried to catch the mutant, but he pushed them and ran away. After a while, Francis and Emile reached the doctor, where Emile's mother Lana was being treated. Actually, she was also turning into a mutant. In the last few years, many people around the world were slowly becoming mutants, and it was often seen that these mutants would become very aggressive after a while. On the other hand, the government was also trying to keep them in a separate place, so that a medicine can be made to cure them. Most people preferred to stay away from mutants, one of whom was Emile. But Francis told him that his mother is still a part of his family. That night there was a storm outside, because of which the electricity in his house also went out. And Emile's eyes also opened with the sound of lightning. And then he saw a mutant who was peeping inside his house. At the same time, the electricity came back, but by then the mutant had disappeared. The next morning, he got an emergency call, after which they immediately went to a place, where they found out that because of the storm last night, an ambulance full of mutants fell into the pond. At the same time, Francis's eyes fell on the corpse of a mutant floating in the water. As soon as he saw it, he got very scared. But then, while calming him down, police officer Julia told him that some mutants had escaped from the ambulance and ran into the jungle. And Francis's wife Lana was also one of them. The next day, the teacher had a tug-of-war match in the school, in which Emile's entire team immediately fell down. But Emile was the only one holding that rope, and with the help of this power, they won the match. Everyone was very impressed by his strength, and they also invited Emile to a party. But Emile's attention was only on his hands, and he immediately ran towards his house, where he started pulling something out of his nails. And after a lot of pain, he finally pulled out small claws from his nails, which meant that he himself was also starting to become a mutant. After that, he took out his t-shirt and saw that the shape of his back was also slowly changing. Emile was very scared to see so many changes in himself. Francis was in the supermarket where he met Julia. Then he suddenly heard someone screaming. Actually, a customer had seen a mutant. And as soon as he got this information, Julia told her colleagues to empty the entire store. But Francis still started looking for that mutant. He was hoping that this mutant might be his wife Lana. But when he saw that mutant, it was just a girl who had come to eat fish. But seeing himself surrounded, he started throwing things at Julia and started running. But still Julia caught him very easily. Next Friday, Emile went to a party with his friends, where everyone was having a lot of fun. But then suddenly Emile started having problems because of alcohol, for which a girl named Nina gave him a medicine. But then Emile could not stop himself from licking his hands. And seeing his behavior, all the children sitting there started laughing at him. Seeing his joke, Emile was feeling very shy. That's why he immediately ran towards a forest. The next morning when he woke up, he was lying near a lake, and then he felt blood in his mouth. By spitting it out, he immediately went to his house. When he reached the bathroom, he first pulled out a feather from his mouth, which meant that he had hunted a bird at night. After a while, Emile and Francis broke the police barricades and left to search for Lana in the forest. On the way, Emile asked his father how he felt when his mother was changing, to which Francis replied that he never felt anything strange, because he still considered Lana his wife, and she had just changed a little. What else had happened? After nightfall, they used a car to find Lana, in which Lana's favorite song was playing, after which they slept in the car. And when Emile woke up in the morning, he saw that his fingers were slowly changing, and then suddenly his dog ran towards the forest. While following him, the same birdman who ran away from the ambulance attacked Emile, in which Emile's shoulders started bleeding. But as soon as he looked at Emile's eyes, he realized that Emile was also a mutant, and that's why he stopped there. But then Francis came there to save his son, after which he took Emile and left immediately. On the way, Francis talked about going to the hospital, for which Emile clearly refused, because he knew what would happen as soon as he reached the hospital. In the middle of their argument, a horse suddenly came in front of their car, but Francis took a break at the right time and saved him. Actually, they had reached a riding school, where a mutant had attacked some horses, and that's why Julia and her team were also there. And taking advantage of this opportunity, Francis got some stitches on Emile's shoulder from the army doctor. And after a while, Emile started licking his own blood by removing those stitches. While going home after school, it was becoming difficult for Emile to ride a cycle due to the changes in his body. But Nina tried her best to help him. She even took Emile home to spend time with her. After leaving Nina's house, Emile went to the lake to hunt a fish, where he caught a fish with his own hands. After the hunt, he went in search of the birdman who was trying to fly at that time, and as soon as he met him, Emile gave him the fish to eat, after which he found out that the birdman did not remember his real name, but he had kept his name fixed. Emile calculated by looking at the wounds on his body that it should be taken to another place, where he could practice flying well, and that's why he took him to the lake, where after removing all the stitches, he was ready to practice there. That evening, while going home, he was having a lot of trouble riding a cycle, and that's why he decided to leave the cycle there, after which he told his father the false story of the cycle being stolen. The next day, while working in the bar, a mutant suddenly attacked Francis, but then he saw that the mutant was tied to the chain. That's why he started to calm him down. Then he suddenly heard another mutant running away, after which Francis's partner came and tried to calm the mutant. Actually, that mutant was a relative of the girl he was hiding from the police, but that mutant broke the chain and ran away, and seeing him, everyone in the bar went crazy. Francis thought that the other mutant was none other than Lana, and that's why he followed him to the jungle, where he met his wife again, who had completely turned into a bear. The next day after school, Emile went to meet Fix again, where he also bandaged his wounds. And that same evening, Francis went to the jungle with Julia to find Lana again, where he did not find any clue about Lana. But while roaming in the jungle, he saw Emile's cycle, which was stolen according to Emile. After returning home, Francis noticed that the drain of the wash basin was closed. So when he opened it, he found a lot of hair and some nails in it. As soon as he saw it, he understood that something was wrong with Emile. Upon returning to Emile's house, Francis placed a cycle and those nails in front of him, upon which Emile refused to give any answer, after which Francis decided to keep him out of the house until he told the whole truth. Seeing this condition of his father, Emile tried to run away from there, but Francis caught him immediately, after which Emile cried for a long time. The next morning, Emile was eating from the plate, but Francis didn't say anything to him. He also gave Emile some of Lana's medicines, which he could use during his class. After examining Emile's body, he asked Emile to cut his nails every day, and while going to school, he asked him to fill his ears with cotton, so that he can hear the sounds of the distance a little softly. The next day, when Emile went to meet Fix, he found out that now Fix could only make the sound of a bird, and he had lost his ability to speak. Seeing this condition of his friend, Emile hugged him, after which Fix showed him flying. After meeting Fix, Emile went straight to the fair, where Francis was also working, and seeing Emile there, he got very angry, because he asked Emile to hide from everyone, and because of this, the argument between the two started, which soon turned into a fight, in which Emile bit his father's shoulder. After getting out of there in anger, he met Nina, who advised him to go for a walk in the fields, and while listening to her, he got ready to walk with her. During this time, they got very close to each other, but as soon as Emile took off his t-shirt, Nina's eyes fell on his body while changing, but Nina didn't panic, because according to her, she already knew about it. After coming back, when Emile went to the bathroom, then a boy surrounded him. That boy started telling that he had seen Emil in the fields with Nina, after which he started making a sound with a special device. This sound was of such a frequency that only animals could hear, and Emil was getting very upset with that sound, and that's why he pushed that boy and ran away from there. But in the meantime, the boy got a scratch on his face, after which he told everyone that Emil was a mutant. And as soon as this news spread, people started looking for Emil with their weapons, who was hiding in the fields out of fear. But then a dog saw him, and as soon as Emil chased him, people started shooting at that dog. And as soon as they were about to shoot at Emil, then Fix came there and picked up a man and killed him with his claws, after which he started flying towards a jungle so that Emil could follow him. But then some police cars also started following him. To stop them, Emil decided to cross the pond, and then the police shot at the flying Fix, after which Fix fell on the ground. Seeing his friend's condition, Emil immediately ran towards him, but he couldn't do anything, and Fix died in his arms. After a while, Francis and the rest of the people found Fix's body, but Emil was nowhere to be seen around there. The next evening, Emil hid in a cave due to the storm, where he saw a bear coming towards him. But as soon as he came to him, he realized that it was his mother, who hugged her with love and then asked her to come with him. After a while, they reached a place where many mutants lived together, and then a flare shot came flying at that place, which meant that the army had found out about them. All the mutants tried to escape from there, but the army used the same special voice, because of which the mutants were having a lot of trouble. None of the mutants were able to escape from there, and all of them were captured by the army. After a while, Francis testified at the police station that Emil had reached there in a state of intoxication, after which the police asked for Emil's signature for bail. But Emil's body had changed so much that he couldn't even hold the pen. He accidentally grabbed the paper, and then as soon as the police gave him another piece of paper, Emil started growling at him, because of which Francis had no choice but to push him and make him unconscious. As soon as the policeman became unconscious, Francis himself signed the paper, after which he took Emil from there and left. And in a little while, a lot of police started following him. But Francis promised Emil that he would not let him be imprisoned at any cost. After which Francis took the car towards a jungle in full speed,